I looked at the Discord message you sent me of like your rough plan.
Yes.
Malfurion is next.
So he is.
Oh, let him sleep.
No,
let
don't
him
let him
sleep. No, just
let him wake up. Let him wake up.
no. Oh, do you mean just the where is he?
Yeah, just where is he? That's what I mean.
I think we might have an axe to grind.
We do. We do. He's away. Are you getting an axe? All right. Does he have it? Does he actually have it?
A good war.
Okay, sweet. I thought you actually had an axe.
You're not a good warrior, Chronicle.
No, a good war is it not digital only, no?
No.
Wait, do you have a physical copy?
Yeah, it came in the Battle for Azeroth Collector's Edition.
So it did. Yeah. Shit, nice. I forgot about that because I don't have that.
It's in my apartment, no.
Sad.
It's in my apartment stream, sorry.
Sad.
Okay, point being, maybe it's not a good war. It's the other one that it came, whatever. But he's really cool.
Yeah.
You're right. You've got all these like descriptions of fucking Malfurion's fucking shit up. You're like, yes, the very fucking land is rejecting you orcs, and they get wrecked, destroyed. It's great. And the only other time, yes, recently we saw is the Terror of Darkshore.
Yeah.
Which was yeah, the orc getting yeah, boy, let's go. That was the best.
Yep. Imagine making a Malfurion patch right Malfurion. Couldn't be fucking me. I'll say that.
Yes, this is the piece of art. You know, the one where he's just looking at the sky and screaming.
Yeah.
Dude, I can completely tell why that is today's stream thumbnail.
Yeah, it is, because this is how I feel. This is how I feel a lot of the time thinking about Malfurion, because he's cool as hell. But
like how they have managed to completely ruin Night Elves for so long, so consistently, it's really impressive. Like even just the thing that's happening now, and I think I've actually been a holdout in this topic because I've really wanted to like refuse that they're doing this. Because I've just assumed that like, oh no, the Night Elves will go back home, surely they'll go home to Kalimdor and fix their place.
we can talk about that shortly.
Is that another topic?
Yeah, it is.
Separate to Malfurion.
It's, yeah.
Cool. Well, I suppose that evidence will be dealt with by the court later, and we'll focus on this evidence.
Yeah. So there he is. Look, he's looking down. You can see the hatred. You can see his fist weapons, which Druids can't really use that well. You see all the power. You see how it's over for his enemies. Here he is in multiple forms of cool. Look at him. He's healing all these animals. Look at that. He's strong and he's angry, but he also cares for animals. Isn't he perfect? And then you go, where was it at? Yes. Yeah, so this is the bit that really sent me off the fucking rails. While it would be nice from being fans of these characters, we would like to see everyone involved in everything. You know, what is Maiev doing? What are all these characters doing?
Who said this?
This was an excerpt from an interview, I believe. I don't actually completely remember the full context.
Oh, it's what this, yeah. Hang on. Just trying to see, are these tweets connected to each other? Getting rid of Malfurion never had anything to do with Ysera, as they told us themselves. They just don't know how to write him and Tyrande as co-leaders.
Yeah, so there's only so much time we really have to focus on things, and because of the nature of the relationship, in a lot of ways, Tyrande and Malfurion occupy the same kind of space. They're both leaders. They both have the love and respect of their people. And so when we do use them together, it's usually because one is in a slightly, I assume, different situation than the other. And that just didn't work that way in terms of the pacing of the story that we've dealt with to this point.
You can't pace a story for your fucking life anyway. So, I mean, it's a bit of a moot point coming from, you, Blizzard Entertainment narrative director, vaguely.
Yeah, so here's my immediate response to that.
It just starts screaming.
Unbelievably unimaginative could you possibly be that you don't immediately see every single drop of potential in having Malfurion and Tyrande in a story like this together?
Like those two characters especially. Those two personalities especially.
I talked to this in the Night Elf podcast from like a week ago, and I've talked about it in a couple of different places, but They are a couple. If you can't write relationship dynamics between two couples or between a couple going through both issues together and also having a like actual output where they can work off each other's strengths and weaknesses, then you're a fucking shitty writer. If you can't see that and you can't work with it, and I'm sure this isn't an excuse, I'm sure there's a bunch of reasons for it. But I'm coming for, I completely mask off for this. I absolutely have adored Malfurion and Trandra's relationship for fucking years. And I have been for the past while.
Relationship?
Exactly. And for the past while, I have been in a really angsty and romantic mood, so I'm exceedingly fucking riled up about this. The amount of things you could immediately do with these two having a moment of strength and having a moment of determination and having things to like do together, it is absolutely unbelievable. And I don't necessarily mean this needs to be, you know, some sappy romance stuff. What it needs to be is Malfurion is the druid. He is the male side of the Night Elves. He is the druid. He is the scholarly one. He is the one who he has the personal sacrifice of, you know, carrying all that stuff. And Tyrannda's got the version of the moon. There are so many different things you could do that in 40 billion different ways. And yeah, visiting, but Tyrannda needs to be a strong woman who need no man. That is so unbelievably toxic as a vague approach to anything you're writing that has any resolution of relationship in it, because historically the whole thing is they have been very good at very different things, and together they work together. They've been able to solve problems. They're very good independently, but the point is that they are greater than the sum of their parts, because that is the entire point of the Night Elf people. That's the entire dynamic of having the male and the female be separate. And the point is that you could highlight this as an incredible moment that proves what the people could be whenever they have the power of nature and they have the power of a loon on their side and they're working together and they're finally not hamstrung by the intense amount of sacrifice that they have to consistently go through between Malfurion having to go away in the dream for 10,000 years, between Tyrannda being kidnapped by Ashara, between her having the duties for people. You could have a moment where those two get to celebrate. And I don't mean celebrate by having a fucking kiss under the moonlight. I mean celebrating by murdering the fuck out of dragons.
But Matt, Persephone ate some berries. And you may be thinking, what am I talking about? So, I have found the full excerpt. Thank you, OCR, being in my screenshot tool. So this is an interview with Steve Denuser in the run-up to the current expansion. And yes, he said this. I'll cut in, 2/3 of the way through. There's only so much time we have to really focus on things. Stop watching YouTube shorts then! Oh, okay, no. There's only so much time we have to focus on things. Because of the nature of their relationship, they occupy the same sort of space. They're both leaders. They both have love and respect of their people. And so when we use them together, it's usually because one is in a slightly different situation to the other, and that just didn't work in terms of the pacing of the story that we dealt with to this point. And now this is what he's going to go on to say. And do remember the context here is people saying, "Where Malfurion?" to Steve, especially because there was worry. This is an interview that actually happened in light of the data mining during Dragonflight beta. You know, the data mining where everyone's like, "Are you fridging Malfurion? Are you And this is...
The answer was yes, by the way.
Yeah, so he then goes on to say, "I want to make clear that this is not us saying Malfurion doesn't matter. We just want to get him out of the way. It's not that at all. If anything, it's a setup for his eventual return." So that means he's not going to be in the Emerald Dream Patch. Because the way to think of this... So, Matt, you need to learn the way to think about this. You fucking rat man. The way to think about this, Matt, is that if you look back in mythology, there is this story of Persephone. And she was this nature goddess who got tricked into eating some berries that caused her to spend part of her time in the underworld. And that's why there was winter and why there was spring And that kind of metaphor really fit the story we were telling with Ardenweald and the cycle of life and death, and how the Night Elves are intertwined with that. We kind of used a version of that in order for Ysera to come out of the Shadowlands and do things she needed to do. And to do some things that she needs to do, someone has to take her place. Someone has to take that end of the bargain. So that's what Malfurion's doing. But there can be some benefit from the time he spends in Ardenweald. It's a place of restoration, of recovery. And now that the Anima Drought has been dealt with, of course, yes, praise be to the Lord. Anima Drought's over. Fantastic. Aren't you happy, Matt? Did you hear the Anima Drought's over?
I'm very happy to hear that.
Very pleased, yes. Ardenweald is getting back to what it was supposed to be, and it has ties to the Emerald Dream. So there's every possibility that Malfurion can come out of this not only with a new perspective and things, oh my god, a new point of view, but perhaps some new energies he can tap into. No, they're going to turn him blue! No, they're going to turn him blue, man! He's going to become Oh, no! I'm going to turn Malfurion blue, and he's going to be connected to Ardenweald.
See,
can we just take everything responsible for like Shadowlands onwards and delete it?
I would be happy with that, because that is so right.
Hey,
Let's
Persephone ate the berries, and the jailer has the sigils. What next?
So let's actually engage with this with some capacity of reasonableness, as opposed to just screaming. Like, I really badly want to.
That's so much fun.
You're allowed to pick different aspects of myth and use them very slightly, right? Because I think the idea of someone taking the fall so winter can exist is pretty good. As a theme, as a concept, that's not bad. However, do you know who did that already? Ysera did that. Do you know how they connected that to winter in any capacity? They didn't. They did it in their fucking head.
She's blue.
They did it in their head, and then they clapped. And they were in the writing room, and they clapped around each other and said,
blue.
"We're all so fucking smart, oh my god." And then they went out and shat all over the game.
We did the story of Persephone in the game. Wahoo!
Yeah, and like that's like obviously it's fine to use things like that. The problem is that they didn't sell that thematically whatsoever. That theme existed somewhere in some concept, but never made it real. Because that's fate swapping. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they're trying to do here. But the thing is that Ysera comes out and she doesn't fucking do anything. When she does come out in the renown thing the renown quest that no one's done, was it 12% of people have done, basically? She basically says, "Hello, Marithra. You can replace me. I believe in you." And you're like, sweet. That could have been a fucking email. That could have been a phone call. Didn't need to fridge Malfurion for it. You just, like, the evidence is in that this is the way that was presented was, we wanted to fridge Malfurion, here's our bullshit excuse. That's what that is. Because they could have that theme without any of this problem. You have, so here's an example, right? And again, obviously it's probably getting a little bit tiresome, me just trying to pretend that I'm better than them all by having better ideas. Because I am
just a really funny sentence.
Because I am completely and utterly free of any of the context in which they have to do their challenging work that takes up all their time and energy, and they have to go through so many hoops and so many things in all of the context.
I mean, we are probably asking like a farm of battery hens to write Shakespeare here.
Yeah,
like who knows how grinding that production schedule is.
Yeah, so like obviously there is a substantial amount of context, and I don't literally mean to say this, that I I'd do better, because that's not true in any capacity, and I'm sure I would suffer horrendously trying to do their job. But you immediately think, well, okay, you've got the winter theme, right? Sarah goes back and Marithra struggles, right? Okay. Marithra struggles out her mother because her mother went too soon. Her mother died before her time because Xavius went in, and because it was in the middle of the dragon suffering, then Sarah didn't get to pass on any of the power and knowledge that she needed to, or she did enough of it, but Marithra doesn't believe in herself. And then Sarah can't come back, and Marithra fails. Shit. Look at that. Failure. It's one of the steps in the hero's journey is to fail. And then, well, without Sarah, what do we do?
Fucking hell, that's why Pelagos is such a good hero then.
Yeah, exactly. So how do we solve this problem? Sarah's got an important job to do in Ardenweald. They've made one up for her. There's something happening there with the Drust that they cut. There's something, and the Winter Queen goes, no. We're very appreciative of what you've done, but we cannot change this anymore. There's already problems. So then you go, well, what do we do then? Well, without Ysera, what's the closest thing we have to Ysera? We've got Malfurion. He's like the strongest druid alive. He's the closest to the dream. He's the one who ultimately saved the dream by killing Xavius. Well, we did, but it was his stuff. So then you go, okay, right, well, how do we deal with that? And then we get to meet Ysera in the dream very briefly because she gets to slip through from Arnweil every now and again, but she doesn't have the problem. She doesn't have the ability to do what she has to do. So then Malfurion and Myrthra have to work together. And through watching Malfurion and Tyrande work together and work, in unison, where Malfurion's doing druidy shit and Tyrande's killing the shit out of dudes, then Myrthra gets to, have a little bit of a capacity to go, okay, well, I can see what you're doing, and like you learned from my mother, I will learn from you. And then they can keep the split of winter and spring, with Ysera involved in the winter, and the fact that despite like Shadowlands kind of going, death's a bit weird, and you can kind of reverse it sometimes, and it's not really death as you know it. You can pull that right back around to go, okay, well then, death does have a sense of permanence. Death does have this, the seriousness to it, and winter is a very, very important part. And then you've got a version of, well, hang on. We can't protect the dream from Azeroth alone. So what happens? Then you've got Ysera in the dream on the Arnweil side, and you've got Myrthra in the dream on the living side, and then that's where the vigil forms. That's where you get the link that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's not Persephone.
Yeah, I know it's not Persephone. But I'm saying that's where you get the themes of winter and spring, and that's where you get to connect life and death, and that's where you get to do it from having Malfurion stay to exist and have Myrthra feel horrendously alone and not know how to work with other people because she misses her mother so desperately, and she's never been close to someone. But then she sees Malfurion and Tyrande have each other's back. She sees Malfurion's about to get hit in the back of the head, but Tyrande comes and deflects a projectile and kills whoever sent it. And she gets to see that and goes, that's what teamwork is. That's what relying on other people is. And there's a billion different ways to do that. But the point is, there's a million different things you can do without going, oh, see the fan favorite character. Well, we don't have a place for him because we're too egotistical or too stupid or too... I'm not going to say the other things because they're probably untrue and feed into a narrative. But unwilling to see Malfurion and Tyrande as two parts of the whole, as one character that you can work with. Because you could do that. You could do that and it would be satisfying and it'd be great. But instead it's just like, yeah. What if Malfurion not there? What if the greatest druid on Azeroth has no part in the Emerald Dream finale patch? Where they solve that and defend it from the Druids of the fucking Flame, by the way. Do you know who led the first Druids of the Flame? Archdruid Fandral Staghelm. Do you know what he did to Malfurion? He was the reason, and obviously we helped in Classic because we brought Marrowgrain to him. We were the people who helped Fandral keep Malfurion asleep and away from his fucking wife. So if anyone has some shit to do with the Druids of the Flame that's really personal, it would be those two. It would be Malfurion and Tyrande. It should be Tyrande going, fuck all of you Druids of the Flame, to hell with you. And then maybe Malfurion goes, actually, flame is kind of an interesting part of how nature works, and there's stuff there going on. Okay, sure. Fandral style, obviously Fandral being defeated. You could bring up, well, who's his successor? What's their story? How does that manage with everything else? How does that mesh with Malfurion and Tyrande? Can they, do they go for just murder the shit out of them because they hate the Druids of the Flame, or will they say, oh, this is a part of our people's struggles too, and we have to accept that? There's a billion things you could do. 100 billion different things you do with these characters being good characters together. And then just go, we fridged them because Persephone. And obviously, it's their game. They can do what they like. But if you aren't thinking about what people are going to feel whenever you put Malfurion away, and you don't recognize the people who have wanted to see Malfurion and Tyrande have a moment in the sun together, or a moment under the moon together since Warcraft 3, then the fuck are you doing? Just get out of your own head and get into your players' heads. Stop being so profoundly egotistical at every step of the way and move into doing something that maybe other people might like, as opposed to something that you're trying to do to satisfy your own empty fucking ego. I'm making a lot of jumps there. I'm making a lot of jumps and a profound amount of assumptions that are almost categorically untrue.
Oh, fantastic. See,
But I did kind of just go.
I'm trying to understand the Persephone thing.
The Persephone thing is, this fits, so I'll slam it on.
No, but like I'm trying to actually understand it. So what happens is Zeus, essentially, Hades is wild thirsty for her.
Yeah.
And Zeus consents to basically Hades, like, abducting her. And all this leads to her, eating some pomegranate seeds in the underworld. And her mother's very angry at this whole situation. But eventually, works out that, oh shit, Zeus, what the fuck? And then Zeus, permits her to return. So, but because she'd consumed these pomegranate seeds, she's got to spend a certain amount of time with Hades in the underworld. And the cycle of her leaving, coming back, reuniting with her mother, pretty obvious. So, how's that got anything to do with Ysera?
Spring, winter, go away, forced to go away.
No, but how does it...
Forced to go away now.
How does it have any...
Forced to go away now, bye.
Because, in this point, or in this, Zeus, her father, permitted the abduction, then got caught out, and then kind of, relented, and...
Yeah, that's not part of it. It's picking partial themes. It's picking partial themes, and because they fit, you go for it. In the same way that Adamantia, the name was borrowed, and some of the themes are borrowed of Drakthir, but it wasn't complete.
But
that's fine. But also, you're right. There's no point.
But what does it say? And
it says, I looked up Hades on Wikipedia once.
Because this whole thing of there has to be someone taking her place. Why?
Because that's cool and fate swapping is cool.
No, it's not.
Shut up, loser. It is.
No, it's not. Nobody likes this, and still nobody likes it.
Yeah, because even they're trying their best in 10-2 to make it make sense, but it doesn't. But
I've not played it in 10-2, but Malfurion's not in 10-2.
Yeah, but Sarah's role is they're trying to use that a little bit, but I don't think they succeed substantially well. They do succeed at giving Marithra stuff to do, but she didn't need Sarah there to do that whatsoever. They could have done it in another way without doing the same thing. Yeah, the Buddha says with the super, thank you. I always was pissed about Sarah Marithra. My dad died around the time I got to the quest, and I was hoping to see someone go through the struggle I was dealing with. I'll always hate Blizz for this. And that's the thing where I think and I definitely, when I said earlier, I think it was so much about Malfurion and Tranda, and I said, I'm a really fucking angsty romantic mood. It's that's definitely a case where I would very much like to see that story. Yeah. Because it would mean something. And I think it's a similar thing there, right? Where a lot of what you can do, and they do this reasonably well with Dragonflight, a little bit heavy on their personal trauma in a way. But I think that's where it can really shine. It can really shine where you tell stories that are personal, but also broad enough to, thematically to humans to matter to people. And you see a story like that, and you see a story of someone mourning the loss of a parent, and you see it being represented truly, and you can actually kind of process grief to that in a capacity. And that's the stuff where they would be able to do that very strongly in cases, and they've got all the opportunity for it. And that's a lot of what Warcraft kind of was about. It was those core human things. And those core humans of ideals and sacrifice and heroism and stuff. Not a lot of it was the sadness side of it. But that's a pretty noble goal to go ahead with. But they don't do it to completion because they get the bullet point themes and then blast them through. And it's just kind of scuffed. Kind of scuffed.
Yeah, it's big picture. Mm-hmm. That Malfurion's not here is just ridiculous.
Ridiculous isn't even close.
Lore,
it's not even close,
little explanations about Persephone aside. Because, you've made that. That's not a real reason. And also, you talked about the Persephone stuff right after you said that Tyrande and Malfurion are a couple who both share leadership, and we cannot... They trample over each other, so we don't have time. If that is truly what's going on, as you said, Matt, you are just a bad writer. In fact, the two of them, they make it easier to write.
Yeah, because they already have so much established store that you can literally
and so much that will work with players because players have experienced these characters. Yeah. They've actually got to the stage now where they've underinvested in characters like this so much that like new players aren't going to give a shit about any of this. Because like, how have you kept the momentum of Malfurion and Tyrande going? Like, we all have that because we played Warcraft 3 and they were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But like for a new player of WoW, what's happened with those characters? Like, people were silly in Legion, and then the Night Warrior embarrassment happened. The Night Warrior embarrassment, which, as we've already far too much and really shouldn't do again.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, the Night Warrior stuff went nowhere and destroyed what potential it did have in the process of its own telling. So why did we do any of this?
It's a good question, isn't it?
I really hope that rumor I heard is true.
Yeah,
it's funny because you know what the rumor is.
I do, yes.
I don't actually know if anyone else knows what the rumor is.
Not widely, I don't think.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I could get myself in trouble if I just spoke that rumor, so I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I just at least take away from this. The boys heard something interesting.
Don't vague post. I hate vague posting. Oh, yeah, vague posters. Awful.
It's
awful
just,
experience.
It's annoying because of how relevant we both know it is, if true.
Even slightly less vague and now it's worse. Yeah. It's awful experience.